And we are live. Yes, I am doing a live stream, and I have not done one of those in quite some time. But I thought it'd be a great idea to share a little bit of what's going on right now. Now, everyone has been hearing stories that Mini is terminating production of manual transmissions. Well, yes, temporarily that is the case, but it is not permanent. It is not going to be they're not going away completely. Basically, they are going to stick around. It's just not going to be right now, and it has more to do with the fact that there's a war going on in Ukraine than anything else. Yes, we've had part shortages, we've had chip shortages, we've had shortages galore, and you can tell by the mini lots that there is very few inventory right now as well. But that does not mean that the manual transmission is going away forever. It is on a temporary hiatus, and I believe it's not supposed to officially go away for at least another month. But future orders apparently are not going to be available with manual transmission. Also, apparently, heated steering wheel is going to temporarily not be available. And I believe every vehicle is going to come standard with the sunroof. Now, the reason for this has more to do with the fact that wiring harnesses in the current Mini Coopers are very different. Unlike the first generation Minis, where every harness was the same, the harnesses that are in the third generation Minis are designed, and even in the second gen they were like this. The harnesses are designed specifically for the vehicle with the options. So a car that's equipped with navigation is not going to have the same wiring harness as a car that's not equipped with navigation. So because of that, each harness is unique in that regard. So what they're trying to do to simplify the process, get as many churned out at the plant as possible, is to simplify it down and create a single harness for each vehicle that has defaulted options, defaulted equipment, and is going to require less time to make. By doing that, the plant workers are spending less time at the plant. They're spending less time working on these harnesses, getting them ready for these cars, which means, given the fact that they are based in Ukraine, it's easier for them to get everything done and get out of there where they can go to someplace where they're safer, where they can be safe right now, because as I just stated, there's a war going on there. So that means they had to simplify the harnesses and make everything functional in a way that would allow them to get everything done quickly. So manual transmissions are on a temporary hiatus. Don't believe the clickbait headlines you see, even from Motoring File, from Road and Track, from Car and Driver, from Motor Trend, from any of these publications. The headline is intentionally designed to get you to go in there and think, oh God, what's happening? Now, my title for this video, for this live stream, is basically the same. I basically did exactly what they did to prove a point. But Mini is not getting rid of the manual transmission. The manual transmission has been a part of the Mini identity and the nostalgia of the brand since day one, and it will continue to be that way. This is just another hiatus similar to what happened with the 2020 model year. As you all remember, there was an issue with emissions. The EPA hadn't had a chance to test the manual transmission on some of the updated cars, so they temporarily discontinued the manual transmission for the 2020 model year. And this is in the US market. So everyone over in Europe, 2020 model year for us would have been 2019 model year for you all. And 2022 model year for you guys is 2023 model year for us. So this doesn't affect any 2022 model year cars, but it will affect 2023 model year cars. There are still manual transmission Minis being built right now, and they are going to be at dealerships at some point. In fact, I know of at least 3 or 4 that are going to be at my local Mini dealership at some point. So there are going to be a few manuals still. But this is just a temporary hiatus. And as Sal Cass said over here, he just posted that without a manual transmission, it's not a Mini. That's sort of true, sort of not true. It's still a Mini in identity. It's just from a point of view of someone who's a purist when it comes to manual transmissions, it's not quite as fun to drive if you are someone who loves driving manual transmissions. I love driving manual transmissions. However, if I had a JCW Clubman, Countryman, or even the GP3, it would be an automatic, and I wouldn't necessarily be bothered by that. But my Mini's a manual transmission. Every Mini I've owned has been manual transmission, so I can understand the frustration over the fact that Mini is temporarily discontinuing manual transmissions. That's why the entire 2020 model year in the US was automatic. And then 2021, the manual came back. 2022 model year, the manual came back. But 2023, they're being discontinued again temporarily. They're not even being discontinued. They're just halting that availability, similar to how they halted the Harman Kardon sound system, similar how they halted the kick to open feature on the tailgate on the hatches of the Mini Countryman, and similar to how they've temporarily halted the electric or the heated steering wheel. So this is only temporary, but I can understand the frustration from a lot of you out there who think that it has to be a manual transmission with a Mini, and this is true. Driving a manual transmission Mini is a lot of fun. It's a very kind of purist kind of way of driving the car, but I understand though that some out there will say if it's not a manual transmission, without a manual transmission, it's not a Mini. But it's still a Mini. It's still Mini in every sense of the word. The aesthetic of the vehicle is still quintessential Mini. The way it drives, even without being able to shift your own gears, the way it drives is still quintessentially Mini. I drove a DCT Cooper S Patty Hopkirk edition that had the 7-speed dual clutch manual. Technically it's a manual transmission. It's an automated manual, but that was pretty fun to drive. And yes, I couldn't shift my own gears, but it was still really fun to drive. So they are still fun to drive regardless of what transmission happens to be in the car. Now, that being said, I tend to think that if you put the DCT in a Cooper, it becomes a little anemic. And if you put the DCT into a Mini 1 over in the UK, forget it. It feels slow. But the DCT in the Cooper S and then the 8-speed automatic in the JCWs is really good. They are very fun to drive vehicles that way. But yes, I can understand that driving the manual is more fun from an enthusiast standpoint. But not everyone out there can drive manual transmission cars. I know a lot of people who drive automatics, but who can only drive automatic, and they still love Minis. So why tell them that they're not driving a real Mini? They're not driving a Mini just because it doesn't have a manual transmission. That seems a little silly. We're all part of the same Mini community, so why not just? I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, but you kind of understand. Bob popped in here and says, I have a 2022 Oxford 2-door with a manual, and I'm glad I ordered it with the manual rather than the pano roof and automatic package. Yeah, that's not a bad option. I wish my 60th anniversary edition didn't come with a sunroof, honestly, because I don't necessarily needed the sunroof, and in fact, I had mine vinyled over just because it blocks the sun out. But I didn't need the sunroof. Unfortunately, it was defaulted on this car for the U.S. market. It was they also defaulted it without the head-up display, which was kind of strange. But I've gotten used to the fact that I have a digital dash in front of me and I don't need it. Sonic Liberation autos are getting much better. This is true. Automatic transmissions have gotten better in the last 10, 15 years. We all know first gen Minis, the automatic sucked to some of us, especially if you had the CVT transmission. That was a complete nightmare. Second gen Minis, the automatic transmission was meh. It was still not as great. Third gen Minis, however, the automatic transmission has been really good, and it's the only transmission where you can get launch control in it on a Mini. So that's kind of fun to have a launch control ability on an automatic transmission. I've never experienced it personally, but I know the host of the Mini Vlog has a GP3, and he's probably tested out launch control on his GP3. I know my friend Gabriel, otherwise known as Savage GP on Instagram, has his GP3, and he has probably tested out the launch control on numerous occasions. I pretty much am quite aware that he has tested it on numerous occasions. I've seen some of his Instagram posts, but those are a fun transmission. Not quite as whatever the term I'm trying to think of with driving a manual. You kind of feel like almost feel like you're part of the car when you drive a manual. But I mean, the automatic transmission ones are still just as much fun. And if you watch some of my previous videos where I've driven a manual transmission Clubman and JCW Clubman, and I've driven a manual or an automatic transmission 2020 JCW Clubman, they're both equally very fun to drive. The manual transmission was really fun, but so was the 300 horsepower automatic one. That was pretty fun to drive. And as Sonic Liberation just said, my 2020 S Auto is not bad. And I would agree with you. That being said, it's not an automatic transmission. It's actually a 7-speed dual clutch. And fun fact, guess who makes the 7-speed dual clutch transmission in the Minis? Getrag, the same company that makes the 6-speed manual in the Mini. So they know their transmissions. Sonic Liberation seems to be one of my biggest fans when it comes to live streams and posts on Facebook or on posts on YouTube, so he's been talking to me quite a bit in videos like this. He just said in 2024, I plan to get the next gen Cooper SE, so a manual will be out of the question. Unfortunately, yes, the transmission will be out of the question. They'd be using a single speed automatic in those cars. And Bob said, with the manual, you're more one with the machine. This is true. This is true. I do agree with you on that. You do feel like you're part of the driving experience. You still you have to slow the car down. You have to upshift, downshift, whatever you need to do to drive the car. So you do feel like you're part of the vehicle in a way. Sergio says, I had 2016 Cooper with the 6-speed manual, was so much fun to drive. The 6-speed manual is very fun to drive. The automatic transmission is very fun to drive as well. I don't want to push away fans of the channel or fans of Mini brand who happen to prefer to drive the automatic over the manual. I feel like they're all part of the family. They're all great cars. There's a few things I prefer differently over the others. Honestly, if I had to choose, I would get a manual transmission car. However, if my only option was an automatic, I would probably be looking at the GP3 or the JCW Clubman, just because I think those are amazing cars as well. That being said, I've driven the 8-speed automatic transmission in the JCW hardtop. It's not really that bad. Although around town driving in sport with sport shifter, the shifts are kind of a little long in that instance, but shifting it into regular automatic and then driving around town is pretty decent. And I know this from experience because I've driven all of them. I can actually say now I've probably driven every single Mini, except for I have not driven a CVT Mini, and I have not driven a R57 convertible. I think I have not driven yet, and I've not driven a Classic. I've ridden in a Classic Mini. I've not driven one. So I got a few more cars I probably have to drive at some point. Sonic Liberation, he's my #1 fan right now. Yes, but I like both hands on the wheel when I'm involved in spirited driving, and I would be inclined to agree with you, especially if you're going on like the Dragon or something. There's some turns you probably really want to have your both hands on the steering wheel while you're driving that car. Otherwise, it could be a little sketchy if you're not prepared. And I've seen some aftermath pictures of being not prepared on the Dragon. So that being said, I've also seen some folks that I know who've gone out to the Dragon, and I've seen the pictures of their cars, and they are flooring it down that road and having a great time with a manual transmission, no less. So I guess there's room in there. Sergio says, do you think the manual allocation from Mini is going to the Supra, which is why they are halting production for them? No. I don't believe that's the case at all. In fact, I would probably argue that the manual transmission for the Supra would probably be delayed as well, just because of similar situations. Now, BMW doesn't have a lot of manual transmissions, and I don't think the manual for the BMWs is the same one that is used on the Mini. I think they use a different one since their engines are mounted longitudinally versus transverse. So I don't think they use the same transmission. So I think Getrag might make a manual transmission for them, but I don't think that's the case. I also want to say that I think because they build the cars in different locations, they may manufacture the harnesses for the BMW brand for the manuals for the BMW. They may manufacture their harnesses in a different location than Mini does. I mean, Mini has their harnesses built in Ukraine. Their headlights are like, for example, the headlights are stamped made in Poland for the most part. The parts are all over the place. So I think BMW builds their harnesses elsewhere for some of their cars. So I don't think this has anything to do with BMW changing allocation on the manual transmissions and sending them over to the Toyota Supra. I don't think that's the case at all, because it wouldn't make any sense to me to do that. I don't understand why they would do that. And there's already limited interest in the car, there's a lot of interest in the Supra, but there's limited availability of the car, which means a lot of them end up buying the automatic ones anyway. So Sonic Liberation, not easy to do with a manual. Yes, I agree. Abe says, I test drove an SE and was driving it with lots of throttle, and then I went on a freeway on-ramp in it, and it bogged down and wouldn't go. What was this? That's unusual. I've never had that happen before, considering the SE electric car is a single-speed transmission, so it shouldn't bog down. But that being said, if you let off the throttle at all, the way the engine is, you let off the throttle, the car slows down. and that's why you can actually drive the electric Mini in one pedal mode. So I've actually done it this way, although there are a few intersections where I needed to actually hit the brakes. But if you let off the pedal in any electric car for that matter, it will slow down. So the bog down you felt might have been that you let up on the throttle a little bit and the car just slowed down. Possibly. I don't know for sure. I've never actually experienced any of them bog down because they're not turbocharged. They can't. And because the transmission is a single speed, not a 6-speed or 7-speed. The next gen SE should be better. The next gen SE will be better, or will be really good. I think the range will even be significantly improved. And then Sonic Liberation, yeah, you might have been in regen mode. So if you're a regenerate, I had so many bloopers and outtakes on this trying to say regenerative braking in one of my videos when I was doing the electric Mini. But if your car's in regenerative braking mode, then yeah, it probably will bog down just slightly, or it may feel like it is when you let off the throttle. So if you're still on the pedal, you're doing good. If you let up even a little bit, it will slow down. So you probably would hit the highway and then it slowed down because you let off the throttle a little bit. WFO says, when will we see the new SE arrive? Well, the SE was accidentally leaked. It was accidentally leaked, and we saw what it's going to look like, which it's its own bespoke model, so we shouldn't have expected it to look like the regular hardtop Minis. It was going to look like a completely different car anyway because it's a completely different car. So we're supposed to see that car unveiled in 2024, technically, because it was supposed to be like a 2025 model. I think they might be bringing it up early, but it really depends on when they actually were planning to unveil the car. I know we're supposed to see the new Countryman next year, if not sooner. And we're supposed to see the next-gen hardtop probably towards the end of this year or early next year. We'll start seeing test cars going around. You've seen a few camouflage test cars going around that have been told they're the next-gen Minis, next-gen hardtop, internal combustion hardtops. Those are actually test mules running around with a new engine in them, because the story was that Mini is eventually going to make a mild hybrid engine for the Mini. So the next internal combustion engine that'll be made for the Mini, the last internal combustion engine, will be a mild hybrid engine. So you're not going to probably have higher horsepower. I also heard that the Countryman. I heard that the Countryman hybrid, the next Countryman hybrid, will probably have a just over 300 horsepower engine. So that's pretty exciting. So they're going to basically right off the bat give you a 300 horsepower Countryman. That means if they're going to make the hybrid a 300 horsepower car, they're going to have to make the JCW like 400 horsepower. So that's going to be an insane beast of a car. And Sonic Liberation says supposed to be fourth quarter 2023, I heard. That's probably correct. Sonic Liberation says hybrids are too complex in my opinion. That depends on how you look at it. The JCW, or the Mini Cooper SE Countryman hybrid, was an interesting vehicle in the fact that it uses a 3-cylinder turbocharged motor at the front and an electric motor driving the rear wheels, and then everything's linked by computers to create the all-wheel drive system. That same system reversed and like double the horsepower was the BMW i8. The BMW i8 used the 3-cylinder turbocharged motor and an electric motor. So it was basically the same power. It was basically the same powertrain. Now people say, well, that's not the case. The Minis always have like lower compression and all this other stuff. Well, the internal components of the i8 and the 3 Series are basically the same thing. In fact, the pistons out of the Mini and the pistons in the i8 are basically the same. They use the same engines for that matter. So parts are interchangeable across the board. I don't think they would build a 3-cylinder doesn't have forged internals and do the same and do another 3-cylinder that does. I think they would make the engines somewhat the same across the board and just change the computer program, because we know Mini can reprogram Mini and BMW, we know they can program their cars to do certain things, which is why our current generation Minis, you cannot tune them yet. Not ECU tune them yet, unfortunately. Which is really frustrating, especially when you want to get more horsepower out of the car. And apparently they made it so that you can't chip tune either. But that's just part of what they're doing. So that's why so we know that they could probably put out a ECU update, software update that would bump the horsepower up on these cars slightly if they wanted to. Sonic Liberation, well, they shelved the i8, right? Yes, they shelved the i8. I think they're coming out with another similar to the M1 BMW from years and years ago, which basically spawned the BMW M5. They're talking about another I think they're going to talk about another electric sports car at some point like that. So some point down the road, we might see a full electric sports car or even a hybrid sports car. I'm not exactly sure yet. Yes, they did shelve the i3, and the reason they shelved the i3 is because you notice. Have you all seen the new BMW i4, the bucktooth hatchback sedan? I'm sure you've all seen it. Can't miss it. There's the i4. There's also the new i7, which I can't stand the stacked headlight thing that they're doing with that car. That just drives me up the wall. Same thing with the X7. But they have the i4, or they have the i7, they have the iX3 coming out later, and then they have the iX. The reason they got rid of the current i3, which wasn't a very pretty car in general, is because the next i3 will actually be a full electric BMW 3 Series sedan. So that, according to what the spy photos I've seen, that is the next car. It's going to be a BMW i3 electric sedan. And they're also going to come out with possibly a BMW i5 electric sedan. So they're working on all these different vehicles. I would even wager they might have a BMW i2 at some point as well. Maybe an electric Grand Coupe, or even possibly an electric coupe. So that'd be kind of interesting. A two series coupe that's full electric. It could happen. WFO says, yes, they drove one. Sergio says the new i7 looks like a Hyundai. Oh, I hate yeah, the new i7 looks like a Hyundai. Yep, because really there's only one vehicle, and I'm going to show you the picture. I'm going to try to find a good picture of this to show you guys. But there's only one vehicle that I think that those headlights work on. And I mean, really, there's only one vehicle I think that they work on, and it is, let me see if I can find this. Entire screen. Hold on, I'm trying to work on something here. Window, tab. There we go. Share. All right. So there it is. That really is the only vehicle that I think the stacked headlight system works on, is Genesis G70, even the G80, G90. Those are the only ones where stacked headlights look right to me. The new BMW 7 Series, no. It doesn't work. No. It looks like it. Yeah, it just looks horrible. It really does look horrible. I don't know what they're thinking with that. I mean, at least they didn't do the beaver teeth grill, but those are still massive kidney grills on that car. But I digress. WFO says, have you seen the switchgear inside the i4 and iX? Glass and bedazzled, if you ask me. The seats look like grandma quilted them. I have not actually seen that. Let me look that up. That's kind of funny. Let's see. So BMW i4 interior. Well, I don't think that's the actual i4, but I don't know. It's kind of interesting, but yeah, it is a little lavish and over the top. So yeah, I kind of I'm on the fence with that one. Sonic Liberation, I love the i3, except the skinny tires in short range. Yeah, the skinny tires really were weird. Plus, the quality of the i3 was a little iffy. I mean, I photographed for my job a used i3 once, and I kid you not, the reconditioning guy at that dealership said that when he went up to the car and pulled the door handle to open the door handle came off. So I'm not sure if that says anything about the quality of that vehicle, but it seemed like they put all their build quality into their other cars and not the i3. But funny stuff. Sonic Liberation says the new i3 is sold in China only, so we won't get to see the new i3. That's sad. That's the i4 concept. Okay, that's the i4 concept. So there's the. That's worse. I'm sorry. Yeah. So okay. So there is the i4. Okay, let's find it here. There it is. All right, there it is. So that's the i4. Typical BMW interior, but with touchscreen and LCD screens and all that great stuff running across the dash. Okay. I still say it was really strange when BMW started putting things that look like they jammed an iPad into their dashboard, but that's me. James 6. Sorry, I just got here and saw the title. I have a 2023 Cooper S four-door manual on order, June build date. Are they not going to build it? I believe if it was a June build date, they are going to still build it. I think the transmission shut off. I think the manual transmission disc or shut off will be for July build. So I think if you got it in by now, there's a chance you're still going to get it. I mean, it's May right now, so we're heading into June. I think July is when they're not going to have them for that temporary period. So I think you're still fine. I wouldn't worry about it too much. And all the stuff with the manual transmission being temporarily discontinued is now common knowledge across the board. I've known about this though for like several months, but I try not to say things that I know about just in case they change their minds. So there you go. JP Dunphy, real i4 is just a 4 Series Grand Coupe. That is true. JP Dunphy, we will get the i3 as a non-hatch i4. Okay. Sonic Liberation, the Chinese i3 looks like a generic BMW with giant kidney grill, of course. I want to see what this is. So Chinese, actually try to spell that correctly. Chinese BMW i3. Let's see. Oh. Okay, so Chinese BMW i3 looks like a current 3 Series sedan, but the 3 Series is currently being facelifted. So the one that we may eventually get in the US will be a completely different vehicle. So see if I can try to find this again. Let me pop out of the light of that screen and let me see if I can do this. 2024 BMW i3 US. Let's see if I can find the US one. And maybe. Maybe it's not coming to the US. Huh. That's disappointing. Oh, there it is. Yeah, that doesn't look like the Chinese one at all. That's because it's not a 3 Series. That is a new 5 Series. Okay, well. So we don't know. All right. Well, we won't worry about that. Deep JP Dunphy. Sorry, I'm a BMW genius. Actual job title. It's tooting my own horn. No worries. I know a lot of BMW geniuses, and I know a former mini genius who now works at a Porsche dealership in Colorado. So he has some colorful things to say about some of what BMW's been designing lately. So there you go. Sergio, how do you see the Mini lineup moving forward? Do you see the Clubman being dropped? Well, considering that I've heard that the chassis number for the Clubman or the platform number for the Clubman is being continued on in a variation, I think what they're going to do is I think they're going to merge the 3-door or the 5-door and the Clubman into a new model. And it will probably look more like the Clubman than the 5-door hardtop, because the 5-door hardtop kind of made 0 sense, or 4-door hardtop, whatever part of the world you're in. I think it made 0 sense if you ask me. And the Clubman was just an amazing car. But imagine if they had taken that 4-door Clubman or 4-door hardtop and added the club doors to it and made it into a Clubman. That would have been something pretty special. But they didn't do it. So if you pardon me here real fast while I plug my computer in, because live streams drain battery power like crazy. If you're watching this platform and you notice it says StreamYard, I'm currently testing out some ideas. I'm getting ready to possibly start doing a live stream series at some point with the John Cooper Works racing team. So this is something we're going to eventually be using as a way of doing like a roundtable discussion. So there'll probably be me and Louis Pericarpi, Christian Pericarpi, probably Clayton Williams, and several other people from the JCW team. So should be a pretty fun thing at some point. We're going to possibly be doing that. I'm not sure when. But I am going to be doing another video when they finish up their race in New Orleans. Unfortunately, the race was canceled for Ozarks International Speedway. So unfortunately, I will not be able to go meet them at that point. But I am possibly going to try to go out and see the team when they race in Indianapolis in October. So we'll try to do that then. JP Dunphy said, think they're bringing back the Paceman for real or starting the Aceman instead. I've heard that they are bringing back the Paceman. Because I heard that they have kept the patent for that name. So I think the vehicle will probably be a Paceman and probably be a 4-door, probably electric crossover, more than likely. Stock Liberation, I had a Boxster when I lived in a warm climate. It was a fantastic car. I don't see why you can't have a Boxster living in a cold climate. I mean, I've seen people drive around in Porsche convertibles in Breckenridge, Colorado, so why not? James 6, thank you for your knowledge. Thank you for watching. And Sonic Liberation, I love the Paceman. I hope they keep it with 2 doors. Unfortunately, they're not going to keep it with 2 doors. The name is being kept around, much like how Mini discontinued the Clubman in 2015 and then brought it back in 2016 as a completely different car. So things change. Nameplates change. At least with Mini, the styling has remained consistent, unlike Mitsubishi, who brought back the name Eclipse, but applied it to an SUV or crossover, whatever you want to call it. Ugly is what I want to call it. It's an ugly car. But and then Toyota did the same thing by making the Corolla, was it the Corolla Cross Corolla, something like that. I'm like, it looks like a baby RAV4. JP Dunphy again. I love having a BMW Genius in here. This is a lot of fun. Know what I would love? The Mini SE with a 6-speed manual. It's low powered enough that it could in theory work. Well, what's funny is I have seen hybrid cars that have used manual transmissions before, and there is a way to make an electric car from manual transmissions. So I don't see any reason why they can't do it, aside from the fact that Mini or BMW would probably say take rate maybe, which is true. People, if there's not enough people to buy the car, then what's the point of making it? They're not going to make a lot of money off of it. But I mean, Mini could do that. They could do a pretty cool electric 6-speed manual electric sports car, maybe the Superleggera. That'd be pretty cool. I am excited to eventually see the GP, to see if they do a GP3 full electric. We did see that they brought it out as the Pace Setter, which was their race car, but I would love to have actually seen them make an electric GP3 styled car that was just that, an electric GP3 styled car with the high horsepower and all that fun stuff. That would have been a fun vehicle. In fact, even with the low range, that might have been my next Mini if they had built that. That would have been pretty cool. But things happen. JP Dunphy, even though take rate of manuals in Mini was higher than other brands. Yes. The funny thing is, I don't understand the take rate. I don't think it was necessarily a take rate issue with the Countryman, for example, and the Clubman, why they got rid of the manuals on those for the all 4 variants. But I think it was maybe a complexity of engineering to some degree. But I don't know exactly. I think more people bought them with automatic, so they just figured it was probably better just to do it that way. I still love a manual or a manual Clubman and Countryman. Those are pretty fun, especially with the all-wheel drive. The take rate for manuals with the hard tops is really, really high still. So I see no reason they're ever going to get rid of those. We'll see what happens. But I think as long as they still have the hard tops, they're still going to have manual transmissions in those cars. Sergio just said, do you know why some of the Mini GP3s came with a red roof? They came with a red roof because Todd Pearson from motoringstripes.com and one of the hosts of White Roof Radio wrapped the roof of a GP3 in red. And that's what inspired Gabriel, otherwise known as Savage GP, to create or to have his roof wrapped in red as well. Because I mean, the inside of the spoiler on the GP3 is already red. So why not continue that onto the roof? It works. So that's what they did. So there are several examples of GP3s with red roofs running around, but they're all wrapped. Every single one of them has a wrapped red roof. None of those were originally red. And I've answered everybody's questions on this live stream. That's unusual for me. I'm hoping there's possibly more in here, but we've already been on this for 33 minutes and I got 20 people watching me. So 20 people must be really bored right now, or they got nothing else better to do. Sergio says, I saw one at the Mini of Escondido in San Diego. That was probably one that was wrapped then, because it's not paint. So they probably did the same exact thing that we all did up here. JP Dunphy, gotta run. Kiddos awake. Love your work, man. Keep up the great content. I appreciate you, and hopefully you're doing a good job as being a BMW genius, because maybe BMW geniuses could actually tell BMW to start designing their cars so they don't look like they have buck teeth on the front. But yeah, we won't be able to ever convince BMW that some of their styling is just a little But I mean, what car was I think the last good-looking 3 Series for me would have been the F80 M3. Although that being said, I've seen the G platform M3, and it actually looks pretty. Large grills aside, it looks pretty sharp, especially in green and yellow. So maybe they're kind of growing on me. I don't know, but maybe the split headlight on the BMW 7 Series will grow on me, and on the X7, or probably not. I'm sure I'm going to see it in person, and I'm just going to think, yeah, it's worse. All right. JP says, I'm working on getting into BMW corporate, maybe change from the inside. Good luck to you then. Sonic Liberation, my S is painted in emerald gray metallic. I don't know why Mini discontinued that color. They discontinued it because it wasn't that popular. Kind of the same reason they discontinued, what is that? Chestnut. They discontinued Chestnut as well. They weren't really that popular. They were interesting colors, but not everyone liked them, so they just got rid of them. And I always say discontinued, killed off, or whatever, but they never kill off a color. They will always bring a color back around. Like when they discontinued white, or when they discontinued ice blue, they brought it around on several occasions. So Nader says, thoughts on the return of the Paceman name? I think it'd be pretty cool, and it may go a long way and bring in redeeming the Paceman name, because some people didn't like the Paceman. I happen to think the Paceman's kind of cool. And if you can find a really rare Paceman, manual transmission, all-wheel drive, JCW, that's a pretty good one. JP says, my wish is they take the manual all-4 Clubman S back one more time before the death of the ICE engines. I'm hoping so too. Sonic Liberation says only one model year. And JP says, what's one car you wish Mini would make that they don't yet? Well, I don't know. It's a good one. I mean, they make a Countryman. They make a. You can get. I've seen. Here's one for you. I've seen a lifted Clubman that had all-terrain, kind of had a bit of an Outback thing done to it. I think that would be pretty cool as an actual production car. But I would also love to even see that on a two-door hardtop. So that would be kind of cool. But if I had to say, probably turning the creating a coupe like the old R58 coupe, making a coupe out of the F cars. That would have been kind of cool. But they just didn't do that. So okay, hold on here. Also, thoughts on a potential real-life Mini Urbanaut. Okay, so everyone who's not heard about the Mini Urbanaut, or you've been living under a rock for the last 6 months, it was a digital concept of a mini, for lack of a better term, minivan. Basically, it was like a mini badged version of a Volkswagen microbus. And not everyone liked it. Some people thought it was cool. Some people thought it was kind of eh. Some people were like, oh, I can't stand that. Why the heck is Mini wanting to do this crazy thing? And I'm like, well, it's just a digital model. They'll never actually build it. And then they actually built it. So they actually built a concept car, a functional concept car based on that. It's full electric. And it looks kind of cool, but I mean, I don't know if there's enough of a market right now in the world to justify that vehicle's existence. We'll see how I think Volkswagen has the ID Buzz or something like that. It's the Volkswagen microbus, basically full electric. We'll see how that one does, and maybe Mini will decide to do something like that. Who knows? James 6, new to Mini Cooper, hanging out to learn. Welcome to the madness, basically. Dale Taylor, Rocket Man. Yep, they need to bring out the Rocket Man. There we go. Mini Cooper Gen 3, JP. Sergio says the Rocket Man. Everyone likes the Rocket Man. Mini Urbanaut is wild, is autonomous in the future. Autonomous is the future. Then the Urbanaut is where I want to be. I kind of still like to drive my own car. Nader says if autonomous. Okay, so you corrected yourself. Good for you. JP says, haha, I have a lifted 2019 Countryman Iconic SC. Pretty damn great. Oh, that is awesome. I got to see that car. I mean, that would be really cool. Now, for all of you who might be interested in meeting me in person, now I haven't been talking about this too much. I am going to be going, I'm not going to do Mini Takes the States this year, but I am going to do Minis in the Mountains in Colorado in July. So I will be out in Salida, Colorado with the Mini 5280 Club, hanging out up in the mountains and doing some fun driving around and some sightseeing and just enjoying ourselves. So I will be out in Colorado. So if you want to meet me in person, I will be out there at some point. And I'm going to be pretty easy to spot. Just look for the green W with white circles on the doors. That'll be me. But I'll be out in Colorado this July, so that should be pretty fun. Haven't been out there in a while. I think last time that I was in Colorado was 2018 Mini Takes the States, and that was a lot of fun. So, but anywho, looks like I have a bad connection coming up. Connection is unstable. If you're on Wi-Fi, try plugging into your router. I don't have a router. How's that work? Sonic Liberation. I wish they would make the two-seater convertible Superleggera. The Superleggera. There we go. Now that would have been a cool car. That would have been a really cool car. JP Dunphy. Too bad I only has all-wheel drive while I have battery. Used the whole battery halfway back from a trailhead in the Poconos last week. Oh, that sounds like fun. So but the thing is, you have a lifted Cooper SE Countryman. So that's pretty cool. A hybrid lifted trail car, basically. That's really cool. I wouldn't mind seeing one of those myself. That would be a pretty fun car. But I am working on some more videos for you all, so I'm hoping you all enjoyed my video that I did on driving my JCW, and I plan to do more of that. And the reason I happen to have my camera bag here is because I had a little chat with some of you. So some of you have pointed out, rightfully so, that it sounded like my audio was all screwed up in my videos. I've started using these. This is a Rode Wireless Go 2 microphone. The problem is, on the receiver section, I did not have it pressed so that both channels were mixed or merged. So the result was you're hearing all the audio out of this side of your ear when you're listening to this video through headphones. But I've merged them, so now this has been fixed. So the next videos I do, you'll actually hear out both sides. You'll actually get better audio quality, which is a good thing. So where was I? JP, have you drifted a Mini? No comment. Drifted my Mini? Oh. I'm going to go with no comment. Sergio, do you see GP coming to other models? Well, in the second gen Minis, they were going to do a GP. They were going to do a GP R58, and they were even going to do a GP Clubman at one point. And then they changed their minds. So I don't necessarily see GP coming to other models. But it'd be kind of cool if they did. I could imagine them trying to do something crazy. I would love to see them do something crazy like that with the Clubman. Unfortunately, Mini kind of, especially Mini corporate over in Europe, over in Germany, kind of looks at themselves as the Clubman being this really high-end luxury car. And honestly, I would have loved to have seen that car do touring car racing. I think that would just be incredibly fun to see a Mini Clubman doing touring car racing. That would just be cool. But they wanted to talk it up as a luxury car, which is partly why it was a story about this. When the F54 Clubman was launched, the Mini dealership in my town did a Halloween party that year called it was the second one they did, called the Big Klabowski. So basically Big Lebowski, but with the Clubman, so Klabowski. And they had a full-on, it was a wild party, apparently. Everyone had a good time. And apparently it somehow got leaked back to Mini corporate in Germany, and they basically said this is not how we should be unveiling this car. And it created a bit of a stir, which was really funny. And I am not getting a battery charge out of this computer here. There we go. Now I'm back. My battery's running low. But anyway, created quite a stir, but it was just a really funny thing because BMW tends to take themselves way too seriously, and Mini in Germany tends to take themselves a little too seriously. But Mini in general never takes themselves too seriously. In fact, I don't see any reason why you should take yourself so seriously when you drive a Mini, especially when trying to have fun. Now, if you're in a BMW, you can try to take yourself not so seriously, but unfortunately, everyone's going to think you are serious. So, Nader said, do you still drive as much with such high gas prices? I have no choice, Nader, unfortunately. I have, because of my job, I am a photography operations manager with a company, a national company. We do dealership inventory photography. So I have photographers all over the western half of the U.S. right now, and I manage them and I check in with them. But mainly I check in with everybody around Kansas City, so I'm constantly driving. I bought my new car back in February, or beginning of February, and it currently has 6,400 miles. So I am looking at possibly getting a commuter car. I'm trying to find an older Mini, but unfortunately, prices are a little ridiculous right now. But I would like to find an old, like 2005 maybe R50 Cooper. That'd be kind of fun. But someone has also suggested I get an E36 or an E46 BMW, and someone else suggested I get a diesel Mercedes. Diesel Mercedes could be fun. E36, E46 BMW would be different, but I kind of want to get to a Mini, or get another Mini if I'm going to get a car like that. So if I'm thinking maybe an R50 would be kind of fun. I would say get another R53. In fact, I already sent out an email or a message to the guy who bought my first Mini, my first R53 Mini Cooper, offering to buy it back. But I have not heard from him, so I don't think he wants to sell it yet. So I may be out of luck and just gonna have to find another one. JP Dunphy, I tried IMAX eDrive with traction off and in sport mode. It kind of worked, but not really. JP is back again. I'm trying to make my R58 a GP-esque car. I painted plastic bumper, fender skirts, JCW tuning kit, GP2 wheels, and I just ordered carbon fiber WRC spoiler from the R58 race cars. Do I happen to follow you on Instagram? Because I swear I've seen a car like that on Instagram before. So that sounds really cool. JP just said, kids asleep on my lap. So of all the engines, which Gen Mini is your favorite? Oh, crap. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the F56 generation. The B46, B48, B36, B38 engines are phenomenal, largely from a reliability standpoint. But there's a lot of horsepower you can drag out of those cars. So lots of potential. But I think those engines are just fantastic. As far as fun goes, though, R53W11, the supercharged engine, that thing was just maniacal, just because you're accelerating, like I'm accelerating away from a toll booth on the turnpike, and that whine from that supercharger is just incredible. I love that car. I love the quality of the interior of my 2020. Yep, very good. JP, do you have a college degree? I have two. I have a bachelor's in architectural studies, and I have a master's in historic preservation. I got my bachelor's from this school right here, and I got my master's from the Boston Architectural College. So my background is in architecture, believe it or not. And I can't pronounce your name, but it is Korean by the looks of the handwriting, and I lived in Korea for 2 years, so I recognize the handwriting, or I recognize the lettering. Fourth Gen Mini is too ugly. Is it real? Yes, that car is real, and no, that's not the fourth gen hardtop. That is a brand new model entirely. Now, I'm looking over here at this door right now. I'm in my mom's office at my parents' house. My cat is here with me, and he is trying to get into the office right now. In fact, if I opened the door, he'd probably come right in, but we're not going to let him in right now. JP says, JP, I have two JPs in here. I have JP and I have JP. So, okay, JP, you would love my old R56 hybrid KO3, KO4 turbo with no internal mods, just tuning and external supporting mods, and it peaked at 387 horsepower. Holy crap. And since it was an 07, it was the only R56 with a mechanical limited slip differential. My 2008 Cooper S that had the JCW tuning kit that was full rebuild had a mechanical limited slip differential as well. That thing was incredible. And even with the N14 motor, it was still a fantastic car. And yes, it took 3 years for a friend of mine to rebuild that car. Even though I sold the vehicle, I still think it was money well spent, because that was still a very fun vehicle to drive for the short time that I actually got to drive it. I didn't drive it for a very short time, but I owned it for 3 years. So it was a cool car. I wouldn't mind owning that car again. Unfortunately, I tried to look into bidding on it and buy it back when it was up at auction, and unfortunately, it sold for about $1,000 more than I sold it for. So unfortunately, you couldn't have it. JP said, oh, I was under the impression the switch to eDiff after 07. No, they switched to the eDiff in 09. Yep, 09. I'm pretty sure it was 09 because my 2013 Cooper S had what did it have? My 2014 JCW actually had an electronic locking differential control. And I think my Cooper S did as well. One of them anyway. Sounds amazing. My car only has a JCW tuning kit. and Wagner intercooler, so not that fast, haha. Mainly working on the outside with a nice sound. Cool. Haha, Jinx. Okay, I'm assuming the Jinx has to do with the fact that you're both named JP. That's funny. So for all of you now, this is now the JP chat over here on the side. So it's JP, 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 and I'd love to say that the Korean lettering up there translates to JP as well. That'd be kind of funny to have 3 JPs in a row. But right now it's just a JP corner over here. So Dale, if you're watching, why don't you chime in? Oh, good, we got Sergio finally. Sergio pops in here. What happened to your white F56? Did you get a high trade-in value? That car had 103,000 miles or so when I traded it in. I traded it in with 103,000 miles, give or take. And I traded it in for about 14.5. They sold it for about 16,900 about a week later. I know the guy who bought it. He actually took it out to an autocross event with a Porsche club in Kansas City and had a ball with it. So apparently I built a track car and I didn't realize it. So there you go. And someone is actually enjoying that car still, and it is a fantastic car. But yes, had I sold that car in had I traded in that car in any other used car market, the way the market was earlier this year, I probably would have got maybe 10,000 for the trade-in on that car. But because of the way the market was, I got a lot more. So pretty exciting stuff. Sonic Liberation, dude, do you know if Mini plans to offer a convertible SE? Yes, 2025 they will launch a Mini Cooper SE convertible. Miniac, question for you. How did you come to your design for your own logo? Well, a friend of mine on Instagram designed my original logo, which is the front end of a Mini Cooper with the Miniac, and then there's a helmet. There's a racing helmet in the center, like the Stig's racing helmet. So he designed that. And just so you all know, I actually ordered them. I have 15 embroidered Miniac baseball caps on the way that I ordered. And if you know anything about YouTube, I ordered them from a guy who has a channel called Smurfin WRX. He also has a company called Primal Driven, and he does embroidered merch. So these are special hats. You're not going to find them in my Teespring store. You're not going to find them in my Spreadshirt store. These are custom ordered, custom made, and I'm sure they're going to be phenomenal. I think we're getting them in black, white with white logo on them. It's going to have the original classic logo, my classic Miniac logo. So I think they're going to be really cool. I'm really excited about these. But as far as my current logo, it is a circle with the Miniac and then number 37. The 37 is in homage to Patty Hopkirk. Now, what's funny is that circle logo, when it was on my car, had a red ring around it. The red ring was in homage to John Cooper, the Cooper Car Company. So I had a little bit of influence from both. JP says, yes, Mini SE convertible is coming. Yep. And he says he saw a prototype last week, and it's kind of insane. If you saw a prototype for an electric convertible, I'm kind of curious. I wouldn't mind seeing that myself now. Oh, great. Now I'm going to have to talk to some of my contacts in Oxford to kind of figure out what's going on then. I didn't even know about that one. Well, I'm kind of jealous. If any of you saw my Instagram post, though, a zesty yellow JCW hardtop with a white multi-tone roof was dropped off today at the local Mini dealership, and I took a bunch of pictures of it, did a little video of it, and it is insanely cool. Unfortunately, it's already spoken for. So I was looking at that car and I was thinking, I could trade mine. No, I'm not going to trade mine in. I love my British Racing Green. I'm not trading it in for another Mini right now. I might keep that car until it breaks down. Sonic Liberation. I would love a convertible SE. Where are the pics? Are you talking about the Sonic Liberation? Are you talking about the pictures of the? Oh, you're talking about pictures of the Zesty Yellow, which I think you are. Then yeah, okay, here we go. So let's see if this. There we go. So there it is. And the color might not be. There we go. That is a Zesty Yellow JCW hardtop with a manual transmission, fully loaded iconic trim, and it's just a beautiful car. I'm really excited to see more on this car. So, JP says, do you think chip tunes that increase horsepower without any mechanical mods is bad for the engine? It really depends. Unfortunately, if you have any Mini Cooper built after 2020, the chip tune will work for about 2, 3, 4 months, and then the car will slowly start to detune itself because Mini has designed the tuning in the vehicles to detune to go back to factory spec. And the reason for that is to avoid having to do unnecessary, I'm pretty sure the reason is to have to not do unnecessary warranty repair work. Not that they've ever had to, although they've had issues with Dynon in the past, so that could be explaining why. Is there a hint of green tint in the yellow color? Yes, I think there is a hint of green tint in the yellow color. In fact, that's why I think it kind of like a highlighter yellow. There's Earl B31. Greetings from the United Kingdom. Well, greetings to you, Earl. JP Dunphy, Dynon does a decent piggyback. They do, JP, they do a decent piggyback when it actually works. They don't currently have a Dynon Elite tune for the 2021 to 2022 JCWs. So unfortunately, we don't have the ability to tune these cars for that matter. For that being said, there are people over in the UK who are tuning the GP3s to some significant horsepower. So that's pretty impressive. But unfortunately, we're just not seeing it here as much as I would like to. That would be incredibly disappointing. Now, the reason I am look like I'm confused here is because I'm actually staring at a screen. Because I'm trying to see if I'm forgetting something. There it is. We actually are live. And I probably should have turned on some settings on my system here because my video was not monetized this entire time that we've been talking here. Not that it's going to matter. Not that it's going to matter while we're chatting, but it will eventually. So just wanted to make sure that everything was working as it should, and it is. So that is good to hear. Now I'm only flipping this in because I'm going to mute this. Not mute this. I'm playing this. Okay, so they can now see me. Good. I'm just going back here to look through the chat because I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. And I got a lot of people here. So does anyone have variable damping? Okay, hold on. I need to go back to where I was. There we go. Hold on. There we go. JP says, I have their piggyback on my SE Countryman. Works decently. Didn't play well with their intake, though, for some reason. Kept throwing a code every 100 miles. Sonic Liberation. Does anyone have variable damping? If you're talking about the dynamic damper control, I do. I have the dynamic damper control on my Mini. It came standard because that was part of the special edition package. And it does have lowering springs on it, which reminds me, I still owe you guys a video on driving a JCW with dynamic dampers and lowering springs. I got to work on that. Might have to film that tomorrow. JP, do you see yourself ever having a classic Mini? I wouldn't mind having a classic Mini, although I've been told driving a classic Mini is like going downhill, going 30 miles per hour downhill on a skateboard because you're like that close to the ground. JP says, think the dynamic dampers are worth it. I think they're pretty fun. However, I really had my heart set on getting the JCW Pro suspension when I got my JCW, and those hopes were dashed when I realized that it had the dynamic damper. So I decided I had to go with lowering springs. Now I could have done an aftermarket coilover, but I would have had to deactivate the dynamic damper. So I was like, why am I going to waste the money to do that when this works just fine? So I have the dynamic dampers and I have lowering springs from NM Engineering, and the system works very well. So if Sonic Liberation asks me, how is the ride? The ride is fantastic. It's very comfortable. It feels very much like stock. But like most lowered cars, if you hit a bump, you feel the bump. So that's going to happen. But otherwise, it's very comfortable. I actually like the ride very much. It's an unusual suspension system, but it works really well. So now I may decide at some point down the road to do dynamic damper or to do coilovers, but that's a long ways down the road just because of the expense involved. And honestly, I do not make that much on YouTube. So I don't make that much at all, really. So if I start making like $1,000 a month off of YouTube, then I might start doing some more crazy stuff with the Mini, but we'll see what happens. Speaking of money, though, there is now you know how we have super chat on YouTube. We also now have a thing called super thanks on YouTube. If there's a little button, it's like right over here. It's like right there, I think, and it's basically like a YouTube tip jar, if you will. JP says, which lowering spring did you go with? Sorry, I think I missed your video on your JCW. I'll have to check. Yeah, I have the NM Engineering lowering springs. Sonic Liberation, they don't make dynamic dampers now, or they call it something else. What do they call it? Dynamic dampers, Mini Cooper 2022. No, they still call it dynamic dampers. Dynamic dampers, yeah. Dynamic damper control. I think they still have it. It's called DDC. I think they were going to change the name at one point, but I think people still call it dynamic damper, so they're just not going to bother changing it. Why don't I feature my merch on my live shows? Good question. I need to go buy my own merch on my live shows, and holy crap, JP, you're my favorite BMW genius now. Thank you so much. So that's awesome. I appreciate that. So he's now my favorite BMW genius. So if I ever buy a BMW, I'm going to have to go to him, which means I may have to do some traveling. But I appreciate you, JP. Thank you very much. But yeah, Sonic. I'm featuring my own merch on the channel. I really should, and I haven't been doing that, so I'm going to start doing that. But I'm going to start featuring my own merch on the show. You're going to see my new hats at some point too, at some point as well. Which reminds me, I'm going to give away 2 of those hats. So I'm going to have to figure out some sort of raffle or something to do with those to kind of have fun with them. So I am going to wear one. I'm going to put away one just to store it, and then I'm going to give away 2. So, and the rest of them I'm going to sell. So if anybody wants to buy one of those hats, it will be there. JP says I'd buy Miniac merch. I do have a Miniac merch. Just so you know, there's a Teespring link on this, but if you actually look in my description of my videos, there is a spreadshirt Miniac merch. There is a spreadshirt store that I have as well. And I'm going to put the link in here in this description for you all. So here you go. Not description. I'm going to put it right here. So in the chat, there's the link for Miniac merch, my spreadshirt store. And that is where you will find, it currently has the photo of my old Mini on it, but you'll find a lot of Mini Club Ukraine stuff right now, but you'll also find a lot of stickers and bags and sweatshirts and mugs and t-shirts and aprons. I even have aprons. Wow. Coffee mugs, hoodies, tote bags, printed caps, trucker hats, water bottles, pins. The list goes on and on and on and on. Oh, wow. I didn't realize I had so much. I think I might have too much. We'll see. But yeah, there's a lot of Miniac stuff. Sonic Liberation says he bought a Miniac mug or a Maniac mug. Well, he bought a Maniac mug at least, so that's good. There, he just spell checked himself. Good for you. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff in that store, and a lot of cool stuff for everyone to kind of check out and enjoy. I need to do more videos for you guys. I have to do more videos of my own car because there's not enough inventory on the lot for me to do anything there. I do have a R60 Countryman JCW coming up at some point, so I'll be doing a video of that once the car has been through a detail and service at the mini dealership. There's an there's an Untold Edition Clubman with a manual coming at some point in the next 5 weeks or so. And I'll be doing a video with that when it finally arrives. And if we ever get an Untamed and a Resolute Edition, I'll be doing the same thing with those 2 cars as well. I don't think we're ever going to get a Pat Moss around here anytime soon. I would have had to have ordered one myself to get a Pat Moss up here. So we're not going to be doing a Pat Moss edition in person, but cool car nonetheless. So there's I got lots of stuff planned, and Dale just said the sweatshirts rock. So yes, the sweatshirts rock. That being said, I'm really partial to the sweatshirts from the spreadshirt store. I tried to buy them from the Teespring store before, and I didn't like the quality as much, so I switched over to Spreadshirt. But I really like the quality from Spreadshirt. They're really comfortable. They fit really well. They feel a little tight. They're kind of fitted around the waist, but they kind of have enough give on them in general. But they're really comfortable sweatshirts. Yes, I know I'm not wearing any of my merch on my channel right now while I'm chatting with y'all. I really should have done that, and I didn't do it. Oh, well, I will apologize for that later. But we've been on this chat now for 1 hour and 4 minutes and 17, 18, 19, 20 seconds. So it's 4:20 now. Well, there we go. All right. Well, I have equipment now that I'm working with. some upgraded equipment. I have my GoPros and everything in here. I got stuff to wire my car up for sound. I got stuff to mount cameras all over the car if I want to. I only have 2 GoPros. Maybe I need to buy a I only have 2 that I'm currently using. I have a 6, a 7, an 8, a 9, and 10. I'm only using the 10 and the 9 currently. The 6, the 7, and the 8 are currently retired right now. But I wouldn't mind getting another 10 or wait for the 11 to come out. But I kind of want to get the GoPro Max 360 one, because I think that'd be kind of cool to have. Do like a 360 video almost. That would be. You know what? I'm going to have to go buy it now just because I've said it. Now I'm going to have to buy the camera just so I can have one of those for fun. The cat is going to scratch that through the door. If he's going to go through, let me go get him. Hold on a second here. Ox, come here. There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay, I'm back. And I got the cat. Here he is. Right. And if anyone wants to know what his name is, this is Oxford, or Ox. And yes, he's named after the mini plant. So I did name him after mini plant. And for those wondering what kind of species he is, he's a black cat. But he is actually, I think, about 70 to 80% Bombay. So Bombay black cats are a little clingy, which is what exactly he's doing right now. Okay, yeah. Okay, I got it. Okay. So he wants me to hold him. All right, fine. Yep. This is his thing. I actually had a dream one night where I had a drowning dream one night, and I woke up and he was laying across my neck. So I had my own scarf, my own 12-pound scarf that night. Hi, what you doing? There you go, Sonic. You got the cat in the video now. So there you go. You got what you wanted. He's in the video now. Right, Ox? Huh? You're looking out the window, really? Okay, fine. Okay, so he's more interested in what's going on out. No, now he's just going to do that. Okay, all right. All right. I got it. You're good. I might have to start up a YouTube channel just for him now. Really? You think so? No? For all of you wondering, this cat has gotten out of my house twice. And both through the same kitchen window. So it took a month for me to get him back last year. I caught him New Year's Eve. So that's saying something. It took me 30 days to finally catch my cat after he got out of the house. He didn't go very far, but still, it took 30 days. On the plus side, he went on a crash diet, so he was at his ideal weight at the time. And now he's not, so. All right, well, JP just said, grabbed a Mini Club Ukraine shirt. Awesome. Great shirt to have. Really cool logo. Mini Club Ukraine's has awesome logo. They have some great members out there. They've been losing a lot of their cars, unfortunately, to the war right now. So some of the folks have had their cars bombed, destroyed during bombings. But hopefully things go back to some semblance of normalcy for them all, and more happy motoring is able to happen in the future. But we shall see. But anyway, we've been on this video now. We've been on this live stream now for about an hour. I appreciate all of you coming in here and chatting and joining me and chatting and hanging out and all that great stuff. Oh, okay. I had a little ticker tape thing here. I could have just popped that up this whole time. So there we go. So there's the outmotoring.com. The 5% code still stands. Motoringstripes.com. The 5% code still stands. Miniac merch. There it is. Spreadshirt store. And it's still there. And as always, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. And check out more content on the channel whenever you get the chance to. Lots of videos out there. I have tons of stuff out there. I've had people ask me if I've done any videos on R56s and R53s, and I've done tons. So there's tons of videos out there for you guys. I've done a lot more on the F56 generation, and I'm trying to do some more with my own car, which will happen at some point. And you are heavy. Yes, I know. He is heavy. He really is heavy. But we'll see what happens if I can get the chance to do more. But I appreciate you all watching. But hold on, we got one more. Okay, another preference question. Would you rather have lounge leather seats or the Dynamica? That's a stupid question. It's the Dynamica. Of course, I would rather have rather the Dynamica. That's seat. Unfortunately, you can't get it in the U.S. and on any of the lower trim level cars. Bob says, "Wait, how often do you do a live stream?" I don't do live streams very often, Bob. Unfortunately, I just don't do them. But this was one of those situations where people have been complaining so much about the annual transmission being, quote, canceled, that I had to say something, because it's just getting ridiculous that people are just whining on and on about the fact that it's gone and all that stuff. It's like, it's not gone. It's just temporary. It's going to be back. It's not going to be gone forever. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for watching. Check out my Instagram. You can chat with me directly on there anytime you want. And as always, life is too short to drive a boring car. So what do? Oh, yes, we drive a Mini. I'll see you all later.